Good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Good morning.
Just logging in, just getting started. Thank you for
Let me.
having a chat with me today. I didn't do much to my background. I just put some dark matter, dark energy. We thought neutralinos. Yep, nice.
All right.
Welcome to
Well,
welcome to live, everybody. We're going to talk about some dark matter today. Uh, David asked if I would speak, and yeah, I used to study this stuff. It's been about 20 years, but we still talk about it a little bit online here.
so I want to ask you first. Do you believe that we invented mathematics, or if we discovered it, and
I
why?
think well, I think we made it up, and we made everything up, and some of it comports with what we observe in the universe, and that's just stuff is probably useful. I think maybe for sure our representations are our own. There may be some universality in the things that we have invented, but I don't know that would warrant calling it a discovery. I, I mean, so yeah, it's useful for making predictive for generating this predictive systems that's we use in physics, and we call some of those theories. But also there are other ways, right? Deep neural networks can also make predictive systems like our mind. Your mind is another way to that does physics in a way, right? But I want to caution people. It's like we're very limited with our bodies and physics, right? What we can sense, what we can do. And I have these discussions online a lot about how common sense is king of knowledge. And I'm like, no, it's when the first step you take beyond common sense is your first step towards like true knowledge. Because there's a whole world out there that's the different scale, size scale, energy scale, then that's a whole universe. And we have access to only such a small region. But thanks to our sensors, our technology, we can speak to the universe in a broad set of phenomena across a really large set of energies.
Was there a specific moment or influence that pulled you into physics, like a teacher or a book or a
It was
memory
probably
to stuff?
yeah. So I got pulled into science probably when I got a little microscope when I was about 8. And so just like you just pick up like this murky water and you look at it and it's like holy crap, it's a whole other universe in there, and it was just mesmerizing to me. And the creatures, some of them were really symmetric and had like these cool geometries, and others were amorphous, amoeba type things and paramecium. And so I don't know, that got me interested in science. And then I really liked math, and I actually thought I was going to I do have a degree in math. And I thought I was going to pursue math at the PhD level, but I really didn't like real analysis. I loved abstract algebra, which is kind of the group theory, and 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 I thought that was really nice. But the real analysis went for me, and could have been my load at the time with the teacher. But what got me into physics was my high school teacher. Uh, I couldn't because of my the way I went to school in Alabama, so we're a little backwards. But anyway, I couldn't take calculus, so I had to take. I actually learned calculus in physics, which was really neat. I think it was a nice way to learn calculus because you learn it in the context of like Newton's laws, the connections between position, velocity, acceleration, and that is a really just like concrete way to talk about differentiation and integration, without getting into any abstraction really. And it's why I naively thought that like as long as my kids knew how to do like multiplication and addition, that kind of thing, that you could do calculus, because really all you need to know is be able to divide and multiply numbers, and then beyond that is just the mental exercise of how small can you take things, right? There's these limits. So calculus is about these limits.
Why particle physics? Why go smaller and smaller into subatomic world instead of going bigger and bigger like cosmology and astrophysics?
Well, I kind of did both, right? Dark matter brings you the connection of both, but really, I mean, if you want to find out what the fundamental stuff is in the universe, and that's really what particle physics is after, is like what is the fundamental stuff? And so we have a decent model, the standard model of physics. It's got its issues, but we're going back to this stuff of like discovery and or inventing, right? We invented all this stuff. It's amazing how well it comports with the actual behavior of the universe. And really, in the energy scales that we probe, the models we have are pretty good. We build these effective theories, right? They're really good in some energy scales, like Maxwell's equations. I have behind me here the picture of the hydrogen atom. This is a catastrophic failure for Maxwell's equations. You don't get this stuff out of it, right? You have to adopt a new way of thinking about the universe, and this is quantum mechanics. And then it's a field theory, like general relativity is, but the fields now no longer comprised of just like numbers or vectors, if you will, but that like operators and functions. So it becomes really abstract, and that comes along with a lot of heavy duty math.
If you weren't a physicist, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
Um, that's a good idea. I don't know. So I really liked. I don't know. Maybe I could be like a music teacher or something. I really liked. I took. I have a minor in music theory, and I took a couple of years of classical guitar and played my whole life. So I don't know. It might be nice to be like just a teacher, a high school band teacher. That would have been awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. How about that? We'll go with that. My daughter just graduated high school, and I loved going to all the high school band events, and that would have been a fun, probably a very hard job.
I understand that you're a big believer in the power of music, as we kind of discussed earlier.
Uh huh.
Can you share what music means to you and how it might connect to your scientific work or mindset?
So I think it's a like math is a language we use to describe like our universe. Music is the same thing, right? It's a language that we use to describe a universe that I don't know may not be as real, but it's one that's within, right? It's inside whatever we will call this self and consciousness, and so I think it's a true tap into that, into whatever the center consciousness in that universe is. And my views are pretty boring on it. I don't think there's a universal consciousness. I think it's a fine thing to study. I don't personally think there is. There's no evidence of that kind of stuff. Um, and with respect to my physics, I wouldn't say it has really impacted my physics a lot, but uh, because I'm able to communicate, I think, or bring out the things that are inside, I think it has helped me kind of deal with some of my mental health issues. I'm a high anxiety person. I get to a lot of people that can do analysis and dig deep. We tend to also like overanalyze too many things, and that can really hurt your relationships. Like if you overanalyze everything somebody says to you, like that shit ain't healthy. Excuse my language.
Oh yeah,
So,
definitely.
and so I think that the fact that that when I'm doing music, I try to kind of just focus more on what's um sounds beautiful instead of making it complex and a lot of stuff. Just like simple and beautiful, and I don't know, that helps kind of a guiding principle and in uh, how I try to interact with people. Just try to keep it simple.
Well, what's your favorite kind of music?
That has evolved over the years. It used to be like heavy metal. I learned on heavy metal and death metal and thrash and all that. It's a '90s kid, and then grunge came around, so a little bit of that. Probably these days, I'm maybe I do probably more hip hop. I like a little bit of the kind of like trap sounding like hip hop. I like the kind of dark beats with a little bit minor and some dissonance and stuff in there. But I also still really like just some good like piano music. And I'm not picky, but just like a really good piano player. I don't care if you're playing, you know, um, Debussy or Rachmaninoff or Beethoven or Mozart or I think piano is a beautiful instrument. And I love to listen to piano players, and so jazz piano I think is interesting. But that's about the only jazz I've ever gotten into. Is like a good and I don't really even know any good jazz piano players. But I just know I hear that and I'm like, oh, I like that. Yeah, Spanish guitar music is nice. Yeah, it's a hard question for me because I really will listen to any kind of music. My
Yeah.
playlist has all the brands, all the flavors, and if it has a pretty melody, I do a lot of pop, man. To be honest, I don't know, the simplicity of pop is kind of soothing to me sometimes. So I'm not looking for a bunch of complexity in my music at times. If I do want it, I'll go seek for it in the piano. I like some nice piano.
Switching gears a little bit, do you see yourself as someone who protects what they love, even if that means becoming a kind of punisher to those who threaten it?
Um, hmm. I yes, that's my natural inclination, but I'm trying not to do that because I don't think that's the best strategy. And we're dealing with a lot of turmoil in the United States right now. And as a scientist, I'm actually out marching and protesting to protect the public funding of science of research funds in our country because I don't think people understand what this money's going towards. They just see these headlines and these shitty, disingenuous posts on Twitter that fake transparency with misnamed titles of esoteric scientific journals that are cherry picked to elicit emotions, when in reality, just alone in the state of Alabama alone, just NIH funding gives us $400 million of funds, research funds. That's 4,000 jobs and about $1 billion of economic activity. That's hard to replace in the state of Alabama, right? And so this is just like, so I'm just that's just to appease like the capitalist. Now let's talk about humanism. Those 4,000 jobs, those are middle class people that are young scientists, engineers, right? That money goes to the facilities. So there's people that have to maintain those facilities. It goes towards the research, and then there's also overhead associated with administration, right? So those are all jobs. Those are people. And those people go and have families. They go spend money in their community. And in general, scientists are not out committing a bunch of crimes. And that's not has nothing to do with science. It has to do with the socioeconomic part of it, right? They're in the middle class, and typically middle class people that have their family and have their stuff paid for tend to be what we would call like good citizens, if you know what I mean. So that stuff, when I see that stuff being attacked, I do want to go attack and do like re-inflict the pain, but it's not productive, right? So what can we do is like try to reach out. And on this app, I just try to go to some of these lives and talk peacefully with folks, and I just give them numbers like I just gave you. Like here in Alabama, I can tell you how it's going to affect us if we stop getting our NIH funding. That's 4,000 jobs. And this isn't even the future generation of scientists in the United States. What does it mean to the United States to lose a generation of scientists? The stuff we see going on in Harvard right now. Does Harvard have some issues where they've become insular and maybe more left leaning? Maybe that's an issue. Is that just the result of some natural selection by virtue of education? Some of it, not all of it. But so if there are issues, I don't think you go about them by saying you're done. You're the greatest learning institution in the world. You're just done, because I feel like you're not treating a certain sector of people correctly. And yeah, if there's racism and bigotry, let's root it out, but let's do it systemically and in a ordered, systematic fashion, I should say, right? So yeah, I do would want. I'm trying not to like just fight back, but have conversations with folks, and I do this in the kind of flat Earth discussions that I go into as well. And you just have these conversations, and then you show people one side that's human, that's different than what you've been taught. And then since we all learn continuously, you learn something new. And so this is the kind of, I think, what we need to do to bring people, some people are so far gone, right? It's just like, it's interact with them at your own peril.
Do you believe that survival at any cost in the face of an adversary is always the right path, or are there times when mutual destruction is more moral or meaningful choice?
Oh man, I saw Placide in there. Placide has played with this theme before in some of his lives, and I think I took the "we're all going down" approach. I don't, I Paul, I don't. So I don't know if that's the way I actually feel. I don't know, man. Um, the thing is that like what we view as adversaries, they may actually have some validity, right? Us, it's hard to have a true adversary in the sense of like everything they stand for is just, let's just call it evil, just for this lack of another word, right? Without getting religious about it, right?
Sure.
Like, sure, if there's something that's like truly evil and that's like we can objectively quantify that, then yeah, I guess we have to stand against that. But it's hard to put that on there, right? And then I would just default to my previous position, like these adversaries. We have to try to find a way to have some common ground. I mean, if we're at least humans, you would think that would be enough common ground. But man, as history has shown, that ain't crap. Like that is not common ground.
I have just one final question for you.
Yes.
Where do you personally find meaning in life, especially as someone who studies the universe on such a fundamental level?
So I do think that there is our physics that's underpinned by the mathematics we have. I think I find some meaning in that. I I kind of have pride in humanity for us figuring out what we figured out, to go to the places we've gone. And I think we'll continue that. And I think that's an important thing. Um, with respect to meaning, I don't know how much meaning that brings, but as I get older, I have found that really the relationships are pretty important. And for any folks that are younger, I'm almost 50, not quite there, but like in your 30s and stuff, and you have young families, it's like, and then I have some friends in the chat that I think can empathize with this. Is like, we sometimes focus on a future for our families, such that at that time we're not really with our families. So you've removed yourself from the present to facilitate a future that you envision, and that present's gone, man. And so all that time I spent in my 30s working hard so that I could pay for my kids' college now, which I can do. It's like I missed out a lot on them growing up. And so I would say um, the importance of time as I get older, it makes every moment a little bit more meaningful, more for me. I'm trying to spend it with the people that I love and try to do good things. I'm hoping on this app, try not to spend as much time like doom scrolling, but things like this where I interact with kind folks or folks that don't believe in science, or, trying to put some good face out there. It's just a good, not face, but, a perspective that hopefully they can get behind. And then, I don't know, music brings me peace. One thing about music I didn't say is it kind of has been therapy for me. Sometimes if I get stressed out or something, I can play the guitar and maybe work through a little bit of the stress. That and jogging has been really helpful for me as a person with high anxiety. And at work, I still get to work on math problems and stuff. I still get to use some of the physics I learned. Obviously, like this stuff, quantum field theory, this stuff, the standard field theories in general. I don't get to do that stuff at work. But that's fine. I still get to do a little calculus. A lot of it's solving problems in the computer, right? Like, people are like, you can't solve the 3-body problem. Bro, like, come on to my live one day and I have a computer simulation that will run an n-body problem.
Yeah.
Not too many n's because it's a laptop, so I'm probably not going to run more than like 20 particles. But we can do 3 particles all day long.